Hey, I'm Blair Best. Tonight on The Story, we're in the streets of Portland as freezing temperatures continue to pierce the region, culminating in a winter blast of snow set to begin tomorrow morning.
You know, people are just stranded outside.
Multnomah County continues to open overnight shelters, and I'm hearing from local groups handing out supplies to those most vulnerable to the elements and the people themselves fighting to survive outdoors.
Oh, it's cold and stinging. Flesh is stinging. Cold.
It's our big story tonight. In Portland, not only can you feel the cold weather, you can see it too on the faces of those living on the streets. Tristan stays warm the one way he knows how.
I'm chopping firewood up for the fires for my puppies and me.
He's been homeless for years. His latest campsite in the Central East Side.
Some plywood up and some cardboard and the tarps up just to stop the wind blow through.
Tucked under this stairwell that leads to the Morrison Bridge.
I get hide in that little hide-a-hole, you know what I mean? Like, at least it's something better than nothing.
Across the river,
We're in the Blanchet House clothing storage closet.
an Old Town Day Center where many people go for food and winter gear.
The line for our clothing is longer than the line for the food. It's really heartbreaking when someone's looking for a coat or a pair of pants or just a pair of socks and we don't have any because we've given them all out.
Supplies are running low.
This rack is all the coats we have, and the temperatures are freezing. People are really struggling outside and cold. Yesterday, this empty rack was filled with 50 coats. We gave those out in less than 45 minutes.
At Portland Rescue Mission, just a few streets away,
We do not shut down.
staff are also trying to keep up with the growing demand by making room for 75 more people to stay overnight.
Even starting last week, we've expanded shelter as many people as we can get into the buildings.
Tonight, Timothy Desper, who runs the Burnside program, is expecting almost 170 people. These blue mats, they're beds for the night.
And what we find is that when we have these icing events, most of the other day spaces in the city shut down. So when they shut down, we open up. We try to do the inverse. When you can't get to the library, when you can't get to the mall, when you can't get to these open environments during the day, when our city kind of gets quiet, that's when we step up.
Multnomah County announced today they're opening a 6th severe weather shelter. These emergency shelters will open starting 8 o'clock tonight through at least noon on Thursday. A total of 356 people came to the shelters last night. County officials say all sites accept pets, and no one will be turned away. County Chair Jessica Vega Peterson also extended the state of emergency through at least 6 p.m. Thursday.
There is just no way to get away from the cold. And when you combine it with the snow and freezing rain, once you're wet and once you're cold, hypothermia can kick in very, very quickly.
So far this year, one man died in southwest Portland from hypothermia, according to the Multnomah County Medical Examiner. He passed before severe weather shelters opened. Nonprofits now calling on the county to ease their thresholds.
Yeah, the criteria for them to open up is pretty aggressive.
That criteria is when any of the following are met. Temps forecasted to be 25 degrees or below, if temps are freezing with 1 inch or more of rain, and winds greater than 10 miles per hour, or an inch of snow over a 24-hour period.
So we're really glad they opened more. Of course, we would like them to be open, you know, when the temperatures are mild, because it's still miserable to sleep outside.
Despite the misery, people like Tristan
No,
choose to stay outdoors
I don't really like the indoor environment.
and to protect his camp.
The last thing I want is someone to just come up and take my stuff if I want to, or rapid response come roll up and just be like, oh, this is abandoned, so I'm gonna take it.
For whatever reasons, we don't know, there are people stranded outside, and there's not a quick fix to change their lives tonight so they can be inside. So let's try to find ways to alleviate their suffering and help them survive the cold weather.
Now, both of those groups I talked with today, Blanchet House and Portland Rescue Mission, are looking for donations of winter weather gear. So if you want to help out, just check out their websites or give them a call for when to drop stuff off. And this afternoon, the city tells me they paused camp removals back on Monday afternoon due to the weather. And that pause will last through at least Friday. But no one knew about this. We didn't even know about it until I asked earlier today. That means people like Tristan, who are staying outdoors mainly to protect their camp for fear of it getting cleared, could instead be going inside at night. And we know there are lots of people just like Tristan choosing to stay outdoors for fear of their belongings being cleared. All right, let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Matt Safino now for the latest look at the temperatures expected tonight and the timing of the winter weather tomorrow. Matt?
Hey Blair, thanks so much. I'm going to start you up at Timberline Lodge because it's just so cold up there. 14 with a wind gusting of 21 miles an hour.
Wow.
That means, right? You know what that means for the wind chill?
What?
It's like 3 below.
Oh my God.
Brutally cold. Now, we're not that cold, but parts of East Portland are stronger winds than that. So the wind chill is down between 0 and 10 for the east side of Portland out through Gresham and the west side of the gorge. We've got a weather impact alert for Thursday and Friday for good reason. Thursday morning into Friday, it's just going to be slick on the roads. The snow will begin in the Portland area in the morning hours and then build through the morning hours. And I think school closures are going to be likely, maybe not first thing tomorrow morning, but at some point tomorrow and definitely on Friday morning as we get frozen. So be prepared to stay home if you don't like driving in snow and ice, because it's going to get slick on the roads. In fact, the Willamette Valley, most of it, save for the Portland area, is under an ice storm warning. We don't get a whole lot of those here in Western Oregon, but we do now. We had one last January, of course, too. This won't be as bad as last January, if you're wondering about that. It's
okay,
not
good.
Right? I know. It's not as cold, won't last as long. We won't get as much precipitation. But I mentioned the gorge and how cold it is there. That's an extreme cold weather warning because of the combination of the cold temperatures and the strong winds there. So here's the timeline for us. About 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, snow will be moving into the Portland area from the south. I expect 1 to 3 inches by about midday, mid-afternoon. Thursday night, we start seeing it mix with or change to freezing rain and sleet. But on Friday morning, it should go back to all snow and then eventually end by mid to late Friday morning. So up to 3 inches of snow in the Portland area and maybe a crust of ice on top of that, which is the worst. That just makes it slick and really, really nasty out there. The Mid and South Valley, less on the snow, but heavier on the ice, unfortunately. Some of the Coast Range valleys may see approaching half an inch of ice. That'll be brutal,
Wow.
and power outages will be likely if we get that much. And then the snow and the ice will end Friday with some melting Friday afternoon, but we don't even make 40 degrees on Fridays. It's going to be tough to get rid of all of it until we warm up more substantially over the weekend. The storm itself still way out here, but it's developing, and it is trucking its way into the central Oregon coast, which is kind of a prime position for Portland snowfall and ice. So here we go. This is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And this is a little bit different now. It shows it moving out by noon. That's similar to what we had been seeing in the model. A little bit of a breakup in the afternoon hours, and then tomorrow evening, more snow, and then that salmon color is mixed, either sleet, freezing rain, or all three. But look, back to snow early on Friday morning. One little blast, and then it finally moves out, and we should begin to see things clear up a bit as we go into late Friday, early Saturday. Snowfall accumulations, again, beginning 8 a.m., and then by midday, that's about 1.5 inches in Portland and in Salem, and then there's a break until we get into the overnight hours. Then it picks up again with that next band of snow. So we made up with 3, even 3.5 inches of snow, a foot up on Mount Hood there. As far as the ice goes, this has been updated too, and we're seeing less in the Portland area, but more in Salem. There's a forecast of 1/3 of an inch of ice in Salem. That'll be brutal. That'll create power outages and, of course, make the roads an absolute mess. So is this the classic Portland snow setup? Pretty much.
Yeah.
So here's the deal on this, Blair. What we have is Pacific moisture. So think you're looking north, coast, valleys, and the gorge, and then up into the Cascades, right? You got warmer air and Pacific moisture coming in from the west, but we've got this wedge of Arctic air over the valleys that came out of the gorge and over the Cascades. That's what makes it cold enough to snow. The precipitation starts as snowflakes, but if you get into this warm layer here, and that warm layer is thick enough, it melts into rain and then freezes on the way down. That's how we get sleet and freezing rain. You go farther back into the Arctic air and you don't have that warm layer, so it stays all snow for the metro area and certainly for the gorge. So there you go. There's the explainer on that. 41 our high today, still 10 degrees below average. We're only 36 right now, and our forecast continues with the weather impact alert, winter storm warning, up to 3 inches of snow. And see the high on Friday, Blair, it's only 37 on Valentine's Day.
Look at that.
Not exactly toasty, right?
Not toasty, not very cozy.
No, you have to find other ways to get cozy. But it's Valentine's Day, so that should be easy.
And it's cold, so we can get cozy inside.
There you go.
Okay. All right, Matt. Thanks so much. Well, Well, speaking of the city of Salem, is expected to get hit earlier than Portland, like Matt was saying. People there are in full prep mode right now. Our team was there today as crews put blades on the plows. They're also loading up sand and de-icer, and the de-icer is already hitting the pavement. They expect to put down several thousand gallons of it all the way through the storm. They say it was an advantage to have sunny, dry weather today because rain won't wash it away.
We have 4 tanker trucks that are out right now applying a liquid de-icer to our main streets. If we can get that chemical down ahead of time, it makes our life a little bit easier if freezing rain does accumulate.
Crews in Salem will be working major roads first before spreading out onto other streets. Now, the big question that comes around every time there's snow or ice in the Portland area: what will the roads be like? If you've lived here for a while, you know what it's like. But if you just moved here and you're saying to yourself, I've driven in snow before, I'll be fine. Well, think again. Of course, maybe we'll get lucky and it will be fine. Or maybe it'll be like this storm last year, when freezing rain caused crashes that closed roads and lots of people were hurt slipping and falling on the ice. Or maybe it'll be like 2023, when hundreds of people abandoned their cars and others were stuck in traffic for hours trying to make their way through it. This has happened pretty much every snow or ice storm that's hit Portland in recent years. And trust us when we say no amount of experience driving in winter weather in other places can really prepare you for Portland storms. Believe me, I'm from Maine and I learned that the hard way. So it's best to stay off the roads as much as you can. If you do get into a situation where you need to leave your car, try to get out of the way of traffic so you don't get ticketed or towed. And you can try to take public transit, but historically, they haven't done much better than cars in this kind of weather either. PBOT is doing what they can to prepare the roads. Right now, they're treating them with magnesium chloride, which is a liquid de-icer. They also plan to use a traditional road salt in some areas, but PBOT does not treat low-traffic residential streets. I asked them why at a news conference earlier this week.
Our equipment doesn't fit on a lot of narrow residential streets. We're not equipped to get the public to move their vehicles, for example, off of some of these narrow streets to make way. So our equipment and our budget are enough to treat the main arterial streets, the streets where TriMet buses serve the public and where first responders need routes to reach shelters such as this one or hospitals. We do not have, we have to focus on those routes in winter weather to help first responders, meaning police, fire, ambulance services, reach those critical destinations. So we're the first responders for the first responders.
Now, if you live in Portland, PBOT has a handy little map online that will show you in real time which streets are being plowed or salted and if roads are closed. You can even zoom in onto your own neighborhood. The best way to find it, go online, type in Portland winter weather map. All right, coming up next on the story, if you're one of the adventurous ones and are considering a trip up Mount Hood this weekend, we'll give you a first-hand look at the trail up there to show you how easy it is to potentially lose your way. Plus, what happens to all the drugs that police confiscate in Oregon? Historically, they've been brought to an incinerator in Marion County, but not anymore. Details when the story returns. We know for many people, the forecast of snow means you're heading to the mountains, whether that's to ski, hike, or both. John Goodwin was on Mount Hood this week hiking the Southside climbing route for his Let's Get Out There series. And he took a quick video for us while he was on the trail to show what it's like up there and what to watch out for if you hit the slopes this weekend.
Well, hey Blair, it's a little windy up here, but I'm up high on Mount Hood, Illumination Rock over there, and I just wanted to do a quick show and tell. I know we've been covering a lot of missing hikers and climbers lately on Mount Hood, and I wanted to show you from up here just how easy it is to lose your way. Now the fall line from where I'm standing takes you down here to the right, but you have to be really deliberate when down climbing to go over to the left. You can see the Palmer chairlift down there. In whiteout conditions, it's really easy to see how people can get lost or disoriented. I'm lucky that the few times I've been up here that the conditions have been like this. So just thought I'd share with my head in the clouds. Back to you.
Now, as we speak, John is working on putting together his full story from his hike on Mount Hood. That's coming soon in his latest Let's Get Out There. Once it's done, you can find it on kgw.com/Let's Get Out There. Now to a story that we think is worth your time. It has to do with how local law enforcement gets rid of drugs they seize during investigations. Maxine Bernstein at the Oregonian wrote about the incinerator in Marion County, where officers across the state go to burn drugs. But the incinerator stopped taking new orders at the end of last year because of toxic chemicals found nearby and the state's new emissions reporting requirements. The company that runs the incinerator says the new requirements on them are not feasible, so they went into inactive status. But that puts law enforcement in a bind. They have specific protocols from the DEA that they must follow to get rid of drug evidence. As you might imagine, it's a strict process. For example, Portland police fill a van with all of their drugs and road trip down to Brooks about once every 6 weeks. Here's Maxine to explain.
They said they fill up a van with all the evidence that is not needed for any cases. And 4 evidence control technicians have traveled with inside the van with the evidence, and it's followed by a marked police car with 2 patrol officers or uniformed officers in the car following it all the way to Brooks, and they have to document the weight of the drugs before they leave. And then when they get to the incinerator, they have to document the weight of the van with the evidence, and they generally pull up to the conveyor belt at the incinerator, and they have to have 2 witnesses watch while all the drug evidence is loaded onto the conveyor belt.
There's no other way to get rid of the drugs under the DEA rules. Now officers are trying to find an alternative since the incinerator isn't taking anything right now. One possible solution comes from Tennessee.
There's a Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. It's an independent state agency, and they actually run 4 different smaller incinerators that allow police agencies across the state of Tennessee to take their drug evidence for destruction. And they're wondering whether they can model something similar here in Oregon, but they are hoping that this legislative session, if that's the case, that lawmakers will provide some funding for that, and that they've asked the state DEQ if this is a possible alternative, and the state said to bring them some specifics.
Now, there's a whole lot more to this story, including the fact that the incinerator also handled a good portion of the region's medical waste, and why police just can't go to another state to burn their drugs. You can check out the full article now on OregonLive.com and find out. All right, coming up next on the story, we're sharing your thoughts on the bill in Salem that Republicans hope to pass to modernize Oregon's first-in-the-nation sanctuary laws. That's next when the story returns. Now let's get to some of your thoughts on our big story last night regarding a Republican bill in Salem to change Oregon's sanctuary laws. House Bill 3551 would allow local law enforcement agencies, the Oregon State Police, and corrections officers to work with federal authorities to identify and remove undocumented immigrants convicted of violent felonies, felony sex offenses, and Class A misdemeanors. We talked with Republican Rep. Alex Garlatos, one of the chief sponsors of the bill, live on the show last night. He said this bill would set a low bar, giving local law enforcement the option of working with the feds regarding undocumented immigrants charged with those crimes, but not forcing them to. The bill had its first reading in the House yesterday and is waiting to see if the House Speaker will send it to committee to begin the lengthy process towards becoming law. Last night, we did not hear back from House Democrats for their thoughts on the bill, but this morning, we did get a statement from Governor Kotek's office that reads, "The governor reviews all bills that are passed by the legislature and sent to her desk for signature. The governor believes in upholding the values of Oregonians and current law as it relates to federal immigration enforcement. The key here is the first sentence, passed by the legislature and sent to her desk." Now, the odds of that happening when the Democrats have a supermajority in both the House and Senate are slim, and slim may even be generous. But the majority of your feedback indicated that you would like to see the bill move forward, even those of you who are Democrats.
I happen to agree with if they committed a felony, they'd be deported, because if they don't get deported, they need to go to jail here, and our jails are already overfull. Do you get my drift? I hope you do, because I'm actually a Democrat.
Tom and Vicky wrote in about the proposed immigration bill by Alex Garlatos to modify the Oregon sanctuary state law. We are Democrats and totally agree with this proposal. Felons should not have sanctuary rights.
I do agree that we need to update the immigration law here in Oregon. Oregon should be a sanctuary state. However, it should not be a sanctuary state for criminals. Let's get these criminals out of here, and let's keep the people that want to work and that want to raise their families here and want to be here, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens.
We did hear from a few of you who think this is just the start to a long game by Republicans to weaken Oregon sanctuary laws, which were the first in the nation back in 1987.
He stated that he would like to see more deportation. I think this bill, 3551, is just an attempt to chip away at the sanctuary laws until they disappear completely.
And this viewer wrote on our YouTube page, how about no? We start with this low bar bill, and I'll bet my house on the Republicans pushing for more the moment this bill passes. This is a Trojan horse bill. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on if the House Bill 3551 moves forward, and we'll keep you posted. Well, that is the end of our show, folks. Thanks for watching. The good stuff is coming your way next. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. A quick programming note for you. We will not have a show for you tomorrow night, as we will be in the thick of weather coverage, but the team will be back with you on Friday night. I won't be here that day, but you'll be in good hands with some great stories coming your way. You can always stream the story on your own schedule. Download the free KGW Plus app on your smart TV, available now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. Stay safe out there as the weather arrives overnight, and have a great night.